Alright, hi guys. So today we are going to be starting off with Marceline's younger siblings, along with her twin sister, her and brothers-in-law. Now, first up, we have Marceline's younger sister by a minute, twin sister Amara. Yes, I did feel the need to specify this. It's because she is in the younger siblings category for a reason, even though she's only younger by a minute, and Marceline is the older of the twins. And now, Amara, because her parents didn't feel like handling twins at that moment in time, and decided to pass Amara off on her uncle Roger. Her was just like, here, you get another kid free of charge, or you don't have to pay anything, and we're not going to fight you on adoption papers, or so you get to keep a kid. And Amara only lives till around 8 to 25 years. It's mainly because of her own poor life choices. But she was the healthier of the two twins, and for a specific reason. And it wasn't about dietary or exercise choices, it was the factor that their grandmother wasn't actively poisoning Amara, but was actively poisoning Marceline. Not high enough doses to kill her, but definitely something that would leave her body weakened, and from years of exposure. Now, with that grim note out of the way, let's continue on to Amara's husband, Kit. Kit is somebody who we are not going to be exploring too much of the history in right now, because right now we are focusing on direct relatives of Marceline, and Marceline's family with their human designs, and I am going to be saving for the end of the series. Is basically you're going to be learning about them at the end of the series. He's not like the very end, like the lore end, and like just the end of her siblings, things, and family reveal type lore. But anyways, Kit and Amara remain together until Amara winds up dying. And Kit has no feelings or resentment towards Amara, or for the way that she lived. But, yeah, bro, pretty much just took the kids and was like, heck yeah. Because even though Amara married Kit, she spent the majority of her time living mostly... Basically, she did a lot of drugs during her time alive. I was constantly drinking, and Kit was just like, heck yeah. In the afterlife, he was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this again. And because he was just like, I lived through enough of this when I was alive, but I don't resent you for it. But I'm still going to take the kids so you can just do your own thing. And Amara did not fight him on this whatsoever. Then we're going to be moving on to Marceline's sister, Thelia. Thelia is one of the younger children, and probably the other than Tony, one of the kids that got the worst. Now, the younger kids are the kids who got the worst, generally because they're weaker than their older siblings. Things up until they are finally adults and were able to escape. And were able to defend themselves. Because keep in mind, there's a large age gap between them and where their four older siblings were. But Delia was generally one of the more caring siblings. Now we're going to be moving on to Joshua. Joshua and his two twin brothers. Now, they do all have different hairstyles and have tattoos on their faces. During and the time that they were 18. And generally, to set themselves apart from the others. But when they were younger, they used their haircuts and clothing styles to tell each other apart. Or so that way their parents aren't looking at them like, which one of you is who? And that way it just made it easier on the three boys. They used to tell each other apart and for their parents. And so now Cameron has the dagger tattoo, while Joshua remains with the XO tattoo. And Cameron generally has a more unkept hairstyle. Now I generally do like Cameron's style a little bit. The only thing that I might change is his hair. Because I'm not sure how well this hairstyle is working out. But feel free to let me know in the comments below. But anyways, let's move on to the last of the triplets. I'm sorry, I want to keep calling them twins, but technically the correct term for them is triplets. Sonny is the most flat-haired child, held having no tattoos, and is generally the youngest of the three triplets. They literally go in order, the oldest to youngest. Now Sonny was generally scared of his four older siblings, and generally because two of them are more legitimately dangerous, and the other two were just taking out their anger on the younger children. Now we move on to Jasper. Legitimately, Jasper is the only canonically trans character that I have. But in life, if he represented his more feminine feelings of feeling that a guy was just not his gender, or her gender, sorry. By wearing a bow, because at this time, and keep in mind the list does take place in the same time as Marcel's lifetime. Marceline only lives to be 38. So it's got 2 years shorter for her. So keep in mind that Jasper was growing up in kind of harsher, unforgiving times. And so he more or less, she, because Jasper does remain closeted about being trans. And even in his afterlife. So I'm just going to continue to refer to Jasper as either Jasper or he or she. Do forgive me, but it's just harder for me to keep track of these things, even though I'm trying. But Jasper expresses this in the colors that he wears. There's the little heart tattoos, under his eyes, and the continued wearing of a bow. Tony is one of the children that died earlier on, dying at age 4, because of his two older siblings. But the one that was ultimately to blame for his death was Elisis. I don't know how to pronounce her damn name, but she is the second-born child. And she let an intruder into their home. Allowed this intruder to wander down on the same hallway that Tony was wandering down. And Tony ultimately wound up being killed by the intruder, being only 4 years old, and not having much common sense with the concept of stranger danger. And unfortunately for Tony, he thought that because this man was in his home that he was a welcome guest of their father. And this mistake ultimately led to his death. And his father doing a bit of jail time. But not going to prison. Isn't due to the death if it was child and only having beaten the man, and just enough to give him a couple of broken ribs, if then a black eye. Now, given in the situation, you have to keep in mind that his family did actually try to stop Gabriel from killing his kid's killer, or because they did not want him to actually go to prison. It's an overlist. But that'll be all for today's video. Bye, guys.